If you're new to my channel, this video basically is not without Adam and Eve in the story, but this video is about us in Africa dealing with the aftermath of the scramble and partition of Africa. So basically what the Europeans did, in the case of Nigeria, the British, is that they just drew all these arbitrary boundaries and lumped people into places that they didn't belong, and we're still feeling the aftermath today. In Nigeria, for instance, Nigeria often feels like 5 different countries merged together, and that's a recipe for disaster, because it means that, first of all, the 5 different parts don't feel like they belong to one country, and when one let's say one nationality takes control, they just take control of all the resources to the detriment of other nationalities. Welcome to this video. My name is Julia Biamiwe, and I am the founder of LoveJusticePeace. This video is about us in Africa dealing with the aftermath of the scramble and partition of Africa. So basically what the Europeans did, in the case of Nigeria, the British, is that they just drew all these arbitrary boundaries and lumped people into places that they didn't belong, and we're still feeling the aftermath today. In Nigeria, for instance, Nigeria often feels like 5 different countries merged together, and that's a recipe for disaster, because it means that, first of all, the 5 different parts don't feel like they belong to one country, and when one let's say one nationality takes control, they just take control of all the resources to the detriment of other nationalities. So against that background I've described, Biafra, which is the southeast part of Nigeria, has been clamoring to leave Nigeria for many years. If you know about African affairs, you might know about the Biafra war that took place between 1967 and 1970. And even though the Biafrans were dragged kicking and screaming back into Nigeria, and Nigeria supposedly had a policy of no victor, no vanquished, on the ground that hasn't been the case. The Biafrans have continued to suffer, and the problems are still reverberating today, to such an extent that in the last decade or so, there's been another clamour from the people of Biafra basically to leave Nigeria, to secede and have their own country called Biafra. Anyway, so fast forward to 2021. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, was visiting Kenya in June, when our understanding is that he was apprehended in the airport, and he was taken away to some facility within Kenya. He was tortured, beaten really badly, and then he was flown back to Nigeria, and all of this was done with the cooperation of the Kenyan government, though they continue to deny that they did it. Now, for us in London, we hadn't heard from him. We hadn't heard a radio broadcast from him, and people were beginning to, ask questions about it. But knowing how much work needs to be done to realize Biafra, I remember thinking about it and thinking, well, he's probably just traveled to America. He's probably fine. And then one day in June, I was chatting on WhatsApp with a friend in Nigeria, and we're just going back and forth talking about this, that, and the other. And the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu arose, and then my friend suddenly sent a text saying, "Oh, he's been captured." And I thought it was a joke. And the next thing, these 3 photographs pinged on my phone, and I realized that it wasn't a joke at all. I was so shocked, I nearly sat from a standing position onto the kitchen floor. Anyway, look at the photos from left to right. So the one in the left, I'll display these on the screen so you can see. The one on the left there's somebody holding him up, a gloved hand sort of propping him up, and he looks like he's asleep. And then in the middle, he's slumped forward again, and then the one on the right, the extreme right, you can see that he's looking into the photograph, directly into camera. It's not looking very happy. Who would be happy about that? So anyway, Buhari's government have been very successful in this kidnap. Buhari's government have a history with kidnapping people that they don't like, and Britain is aware of that from the Umaru Dikko case from the 1980s. But you know, we'll more about that on another occasion. Anyway, Nigeria's Attorney General, who is Abubakar Malami, he was ecstatic. He was so happy. He forgot himself and then addressed his core base in Hausa. Nigeria, bear in mind, is an English-speaking country for all intents and purposes. So that itself was telling. And then, of course, the BBC. The BBC has always supported the Nigerian government. So they're on the face of it. If you looked at the BBC article, and I'll cover that in another blog post, which I've written. I don't know whether I've linked it, but whenever I do link it, I'll link it in the description for this video, as well as the blog post on my website. My website is being revamped at the moment, so it might not be up there right at this minute. But back to the BBC. So the BBC has always been in support of, the BBC is like the they call it the fourth leg of British government, and whatever the BBC does is almost like in line. They're like the propaganda version, the propaganda voice of the British government. So whatever the BBC says is always in line with British government policy, and they're not going to rock the boat, because at the moment Britain is still benefiting from Nigeria's oil and gas, which they get for next to nothing from Buhari government, like they've done for years and years since we had so-called independence. But anyway, Malami was ecstatic about this, and you could see that the BBC too was quite pleased, because this is the thing, because in the BBC, and I'll link the article below, which, having said that, has been amended, because it's been amended from the way it was written when, I think, in June of last year. In June of last year, they described Nnamdi Kanu as having been arrested, whereas the terminology, if you look at the Umaru Dikko article on the same BBC website, they describe it as what it is. It's an international crime to extraordinary rendition a person from one country to the other without following the process, which is what the Nigerian government did. However, there was one thing that the BBC reported in the article, and they said that the kidnap of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu had left IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, I'll say for short IPOB, had left the organization in disarray. And at the time I thought, I sort of looked at that, and as with everything that I get from the BBC, I took that, I was fairly skeptical about it. But I think if you look at IPOB today, in February 2022, which is the time of filming this video, I think there's probably some truth in that, and I'll go into that in a bit more. So when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped, IPOB seemed to hit the ground running. The first thing they did was that, or one of the first things, because this was July, I think, that this announcement was made, Radio Biafra appointed, or the DOS appointed Mazi Simon Ekpa to Radio Biafra, to basically to cover Nnamdi Kanu. So I'll tell you a bit more. Simon Ekpa is a Finland-based lawyer, politician, broadcaster, and I think he's had a career as a top flight athlete, and he represented Nigeria. I think he did the long jump. So he's had, a long and varied career. So I'll put a screenshot from the Instagram post that I did at the time that he was appointed, because that post has a bit of his bio on it. I thought Simon was a really good choice, because he does these fiery broadcasts that I think Biafran people just absolutely lap up. They love. But I would say that in the UK, Simon would be described as a bit of a Marmite character. And by Marmite, Marmite, you either love or you hate. Marmite is a savory spread that a lot of British people have on their toast for breakfast. But people seem to either love the spread or hate the spread. It's polarizing. So I guess what I was trying to say was that what I'm trying to say is that Simon, in my opinion, is a bit of a polarizing character. So let's talk about some of his good points. One of the reasons that I'm a subscriber to his channel. One of the reasons I subscribe is that sometimes he understands Nigerian politicians. He gets around their regional accents so well. So, for instance, I never understand Buhari's babble. I've really struggled. So whenever there's an interview that Buhari gives, I just wait to watch Simon's broadcast so he can break down line by line exactly what Buhari is trying to say. He's excellent at it, and he's excellent at analyzing and predicting. He always seems to be one step ahead of the Nigerian politicians. So it's absolutely amazing to see. So he's also fluent in Igbo, speaks fluent Igbo, he speaks Pidgin English, and because he lives in Finland, he might even speak Finnish as well. I don't know that for certain. So certainly somebody that can navigate, operate across all those cultures is amazing. I see how he deals with different Biafrans from different parts of Biafra land, and that looks good as well. That bodes well. So I thought that he was an excellent choice for Radio Biafra, except that, as we now know, that the stint at Radio Biafra never happened, because Simon has said that the DOS asked him to hand in the passwords for his YouTube channel. Simon's YouTube channel is called, let me get the word, it's called Enter Biafra Live Broadcast by Simon Ekpa. So I'll link his channel below, so you can subscribe to that if you want to. Anyway, Simon declined, which is understandable. Building up a YouTube channel is not the easiest gig. So handing over your passwords to somebody else, well, I wouldn't do it. So understandably, Simon didn't do it. But Simon, by his own admission, can be really cutting. You have to watch his broadcast sometimes to watch him slicing and dicing anyone who he thinks is a hater, mischief maker, that sort of thing. It can be, let's just say I've been on the receiving end of that, and it's no fun. So, but having said that about Simon, there are other people I know that watch this channel and wish that he would spend less time dealing with haters and just, get on with the things that he does really well. But by and large, even taking that criticism into account, I think that he's a big personality in the Biafra struggle. He's a passionate supporter. He's financially independent. He doesn't need to stick his fingers in the cookie jar. He has his own money, and he's doing well for himself. He has a practice as a lawyer in Finland. And he has a career as a Finnish politician as well. So he's doing this compared to lots of other people, compared to the Nigerian politicians. I would say by and large that his heart seems to be in the right place, and that's very important for the Biafra struggle. So the other thing that view of Simon that I subscribe to is his view about the sit-at-home. I think the sit-at-home protests, you'll see that in my last video, you'll see it on my blog. I think that the sit-at-home protest was fantastic. I think it was a stroke of genius by Biafra, and I don't understand why we put a stop to it. Anyway, Simon would talk about on his channel about the sit-at-home protests and why we needed to carry on doing it, and the Anambra elections and so on and so forth. And like me, he seemed to be baffled that the sit-at-home protests had been stopped. And then the people of Biafra then carried on sitting at home every Monday. So every Monday they would sit at home, and we see the videos of all these towns really quiet. And so Simon coined a phrase. He said that the spirit of Biafra had entered the Biafra people, and they had now gone on autopilot, and they were sitting at home. So the struggle had gone on to autopilot, and that's how that phrase got coined. So those who are watching the struggle now will know that the struggle is now split. There are now some people who agree with Simon, and there are the people who don't agree with Simon. So the people who agree with Simon are called the autopiloters, and or the COVID-19 alluding to those who joined the struggle during the pandemic. And then there are the other people who believe that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu set up a structure, including the Department of State, the DOS, and that structure must be respected. You must obey before complaint. You must you must be disciplined, command and control, and all of that. So the struggle is now sort of split into these two parties. There's the autopiloters on the one hand, COVID-19, and then there's the people who think that the DOS is doing the right thing. Now, so there are a couple of things that I need to mention. Let me mention a couple of things that I think the DOS has done right, and then I'll mention the things that I think are really weird, right? So one of the things that the DOS has done, there's been an announcement about the ban on Fulani cow meat. Now, I've spoken to other Biafrans, and the consensus amongst the people I've spoken to is that this is low-hanging fruit. If these Fulani herdsmen, terrorist people are coming into Biafra land, they're attacking people in their farms on the basis of having to feed their cows. Well, hey, if the people of Biafra say, you know something, we don't eat beef anymore, it's not our thing, then what do these herders? They have no business coming into Biafra land. If they are coming into Biafra land, irrespective of that, even after the people of Biafra said, we're not prepared to buy your cow meat, then we know we have a problem. They're saying something else. So then they'll have to come out, at the moment, they've been in Biafra under the auspices of grazing. So if there's no reason for them to graze, then they'll have to state the real reason that they're there, which is what everybody thinks, which is a covert land grab. What they want to do is drive the indigenous people off their land, and then they take over the land, and they've been doing in parts of the north of Nigeria. So I thought that the fact that Fulani cow meat is banned from April 2022, fantastic. You'll see on my social media that I have been flying kites and posters and what I'm campaigning for this to happen. So I was delighted to see that. I thought that's absolutely fantastic. The second thing that the DOS has to be commended for is the banning of the Nigerian flag and the anthem in schools across Biafra, replacing this with the Biafra flag and Biafra anthem. And I know that there's some people who've said, oh, this token is not enough. Every little bit that moves us towards Biafra is progress, as far as I'm concerned. If you look at, for instance, Somaliland now, they have their own economy separate from Somalia. Now, Somalia is still trying to claim Somaliland, and the international international countries haven't actually recognized Somaliland yet. But they've got their own currency, they've got their own country, and Somalia is still trying to negotiate with them. But basically, they're getting on fine. So I think every step that Biafra takes towards going to the position that Somali land is in is a good thing. And I'll do a video about that if you want. If you leave your comments down for me in the comment section, and I'll get onto it. So, like Simon, as I said, I don't think that there are two key things where I think the DOS has made mistakes. The first one is it has to do with the cancellation of the sit-at-home protest. I just see no reason or justification. We had all the pressure on the powers that be in Nigeria when we had the sit-at-home protest going really well. I don't understand why that was cancelled. I think that was a misstep, major misstep. The second thing that I think, so there's the cancellation of the sit-at-home. The second thing that I think has been a major mistake that the DOS has done is when they come to us, and everyone can see that Bruce Fein, for instance, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's international lawyer from America, Bruce Fein has traveled to Nigeria 6 times, and the DSS has not given him access to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, right? We've seen that even Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's solicitors in London, Bindmans, have not had proper access to him, as far as I'm aware. They've not had proper access. And then the other thing to point out is that he has been, even his lawyers on occasions didn't have access, and they were being strip searched, I believe, before they could see him. So in those circumstances, when a DOS comes back and reports to the people of Biafra saying that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has given X instruction or Y instruction, you think, how on earth can a man who is under heavy surveillance manage to give all these intricate instructions to the people of Biafra? It just doesn't ring true. And even if it rang true, you think, how safe are these instructions that he's giving us under duress? If the structure that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has set up with the DOS is sufficiently robust, it must be, having been in incarceration in 2017, that structure should be robust enough to deal with possible incarceration in the future, which would not, in my opinion, involve giving detailed instructions in front of DOS that's recording everything that he's saying in a cell. So then the DOS coming out and telling us that Mazi Nnamdi, oh, he's under surveillance, but he gave us these instructions. You think, stop. Stop. We have brains. That doesn't make sense. You know, I think that whenever I think about it, I just think DOS is moving mad. Moving mad is something that you hear young people say in London. When something's inexplicable, they just say the person's moving mad. And in my opinion, DOS was moving mad with that particular statement. It just made no sense, and it made them look silly, you know. So that's my opinion on that. Bear in mind. Now, I want to go on and talk about some criticism that's been leveled at certain key characters. And some of them I'll tell you about. So Kanu, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's own brother, hasn't escaped. China Samworu, who's been talked about as well. Mazi Chika Doziem, some of the things he's done. So I'll talk about those in my my next video. But if you have any comments about today's video, obviously please, you know, put them in the comment section below. Please share this video. Please subscribe. It really helps. It'll help the channel to grow. And I think that one of the things that, as we all know, that's very, very important in a struggle for our freedom is that we have the ability to tell our own story and to generate our own discussions. So by all means, you know, let's do that in the comment section below. Please support the channel, share, etc. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
I seek perfection.